بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا رب زدنا علما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم إنا نسألك التوفيق والعافية والسعادة في دارين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. We begin in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. We thank Allah. We are taught as Muslims to begin all things that we do with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, this is how we should start everything that we do. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And what does it mean that we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? We're doing a few things just as review. We're asking Allah, number one, to bless what we are doing. Number two, to make it a source of reward for us on the Day of Judgment, that we find it in our books of good deeds on the Day of Judgment. Number three, we're asking Allah to make this deed solely for His sake, so give us ikhlas or sincerity. Number four, we're also asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and to make this matter easy by facilitating and teaching us from the knowledge that God has given us. We have no knowledge except what Allah will give us. In life, each and every one of you will be given a certain amount of knowledge in your life. Some of you may have more knowledge than others. Some of you may not have the amount of knowledge, but you'll be given something else. Like, for example, you may be given a pure heart. You might be given good character. You might be given different qualities. You might be given love of Allah and His Messenger. Some of you might be given, different type of gifts. Some of you may be given the gift of being good to your parents, right? Specific different things that relate to you. Allah will give everyone a certain portion. But what is very important is when it comes to knowledge, we have to make sure we give effort, we try our best in order to gain knowledge. Because knowledge it's not enough that we sit back and say, well, either you know or you don't know. But actually, knowledge is something that it comes over time through hard work. Okay? Comes through over time through hard work. So, knowledge is the most important thing. And what we are teaching now, this is obviously for our Group A kids that are mainly 11, 12 till about 15, 16. No more than that in this class. This knowledge of what we're studying here is an obligation. It's an obligation to learn what we're about to teach. So by being in this class, you are learning those things that is absolutely necessity and necessary knowledge that you must have. Okay. So in the intro, we ask Allah to bless you all in the beginning of our first class here in the new semester. And we do require to make sure that you attend every class. And should you have a valid reason that you cannot come, then you watch the recording. And every week I will ask you, if you missed the class, did you watch it? Your answer has to be yes, you watched the class. Okay? As Zain and Ryan have done a fantastic job at that. So no excuses of not coming. The reason why I'm very strict on this is because we have to treat our religion more important than everything else. Okay? And inshallah, I know that you're all good kids and you will do that. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The text that we are going through, as I mentioned last quarter, is another text by the same author of our last text that we covered, which was on Maharam al-Lisan, prohibitions of the tongue. This one is called Matharat al-Qulub, purification of the heart. Purification of the heart. So you can write that down, purification of the heart, by Muhammad Mawlud, same author as the last text. Now, Muhammad Mawlud, every text that you study from a scholar, you have to recognize the author you're taking knowledge from. The author that you take knowledge from gets reward in the grave. The author you take knowledge from becomes your spiritual father, if you will. The sheikh that you take knowledge from, the books that we read, you have a connection and a relationship with. Okay? Moment, I need you to turn facing me somehow. Either sit on this end or grab another table. You can sit next to Saddam. Saddam, move over a bit. Maybe you can fit over there.
Could you repeat that name, please?
The last point, I mean?
The name.
Muhammad Mawlud. Mawlud. Muhammad Mawlud. I'm going to give some advice and tell you never to read the book of anyone unless you know that they're a rightly guided scholar. Muhammad Mawlud radiyallahu anhu was one of the greatest of the ulama of West Africa. He was a scholar of law, Quran, every science you can think of in Islam. He was a master and a great scholar. This book was taught to us by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. We studied this book together. I'm using his translation for this book, for this class. If you'd like to order it, you can order it online. Purification of the Heart by Hamza Yusuf, translation. And the commentary is mainly from Sheikh Hamza, but added commentary by another great scholar who's alive today named Muhammad bin Hassan al-Khadim. So inshallah, we'll be going through this. We've also been blessed to study parts of this book with Sheikh Sadiq. In fact, I think we covered the whole book with Sheikh Sadiq as well here in Santa Barbara a while back. But I'm going to condense this, make it more simpler, make it more relevant to your age and what you really need to know. That's very important. So I'm taking out the extras, cutting down to the chase, and really focusing it. Okay. Before we begin on that, a couple important things. This book is talking about purifying your heart. Okay. So, question you might want to ask is, why purify our heart? Why not purify our eyes? Why not start with purifying our ears? Why not purifying our hands, that we don't do anything haram, etc.? Why the heart? The answer to that is quite simple. The heart is the center where all other limbs react on the command of the heart. So you can say that the heart is central command. Whatever your body does comes from the heart. It's the heart that commands the rest of the limbs. So, okay? It is the heart that commands the rest of the limbs. Therefore, if the heart is corrupt, everything will be corrupt. If the heart is good, the central focus is good, everything else will be good. This is another thing. You guys are at the age and understanding now that when we say something in the religion, it has to have proof. I can come up here and say all kinds of stuff. I won't. But we have a religion that has proofs. Okay? I'll try to say the proofs if I know them, and you inshallah will benefit by knowing where it comes from. What I just mentioned, the proof of it is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, "Ala fil jasadi mudgha, إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب." There is in the body a piece of flesh, a part of your body, that if it is sound and good, the whole body is good. But if that is corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. Isn't it verily the heart? Isn't it verily the heart? There's the proof of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And the longest oath in the Quran, this is the longest swear, oath that Allah Ta'ala take a bunch of swears by, is وَالشَّمْسِ وَالضُّحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. Right? All the way till the end. So 11 oaths that Allah takes. And He concludes those swears and oath. Oath, when we say oath in the Quran, Allah swears by something in order to emphasize what is being said, so you understand its importance. Okay? That's the point of an oath. Just like, if you wanted to say something to somebody they don't believe you, say, look, listen, I swear you need to listen to me. When people say that, you start to say, this is serious, let me listen. As opposed to, hey, there's a car accident right now. Right? Somebody told you like that, you're like, wait, what? Right? If you say it in a low tone, there's a car accident, nobody would believe you. Hey, how's it going, Ryan? There's a fire right now behind me. You wouldn't do that. Every situation calls for a certain reaction. Ryan, there's a fire, fire, fire. Call 911. Oh my God, I swear, there's an accident right now. I just saw it. These are the reactions you get. When Allah is saying something in the Quran that He wants to emphasize and He wants you to pay very close attention and also bring relevance and importance, He takes an oath by that and He swears by that. So the longest oath in the entire Quran is in this chapter 91, Surah Al-Shams. And the conclusion of what Allah is telling us in that oath is قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Successful is the one that purifies his soul, meaning his heart. Destroyed is the one that corrupts it and doesn't take care of it. In other words, if you do not take care of your heart, you could end up in eternal hellfire. And if you take care of your heart, you can be in the highest levels of paradise. The location of all good is in the size of your fist, because that's about how big they tell us our heart is. 1, 2, maybe 3 inches. A locality, a place of only 3 inches will dictate and will tell us where you will spend the rest of eternity. You guys all watch those cartoons or movies where the guy has some special stone or rock and is so powerful, has the energy of the universe, and the people want that, otherwise it could destroy whatever, right? You know how precious that is. Imagine like a big ruby red stone that could give you the power of the universe. Everybody would want that. Now, there is your heart in your body is that golden ruby, that red gem, that if you work on it and you make it good, on the day of judgment, that is what we're presenting to Allah. That's what we're presenting, our heart. Okay? So imagine all your life, all the work you did, you come on the day of judgment, you say, Allah, it's my presentation, I'm ready to present to you my heart. The proof of that is in the Quran. Allah says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On the day of judgment, wealth, children, nothing will benefit you except the one who presents to Allah a sound heart. Now, write some Arabic or English, whatever you want to write. قلب سليم. إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. Qalb is heart. Salim means sound. If you don't present a sound heart to Allah, you got trouble. Qalbun Salim. Qalbun Salim. Qalb is heart. Salim means sound. So, if we were to say, what are we trying to get? Qalbun Salim. Qalbun Salim. Trying to get a sound heart. This class is about teaching and going over how to attain a pure heart. What are the diseases of the heart? What are the causes of those diseases? And what are the cures of those diseases? If you have those diseases, you will never know you have those diseases if you don't study it, if you don't know it. If I just woke up in a time machine, I am my age and I don't know anything about Earth, and then I go to eat the worst foods possible because it tastes pretty good, right? I'll go get the biggest, fattiest, trans fat stuff I can eat, and I'll probably kill myself like that guy that did the McDonald's thing where he just ate McDonald's for like 20 some days and almost died. I think he had a heart attack. It was a documentary that some guy, he just ate McDonald's every day. I don't know why you would do that. And then he filmed himself, and on the 27th day or something like that, I didn't watch it, but people told me, he basically almost died. Okay. So, us spiritually, if you don't know what the diseases are and what their cures are, it'll kill you in the end. But the killing will not be physical, it'll be spiritual. There's spiritual death. So I want to stop here at this point, and you should write this very important down. There is spiritual death. Spiritual death is when your heart is dead. Okay? When a person's heart is dead. What do we mean when a person's heart is dead? Well, Allah talks about this in the Quran. He talks about, have you not seen that the one who was dead and Allah gave him life and He gave him light, that he walks with in front of people, amongst people, this light that gave him life. Life of the heart is Iman, belief in Allah. And how thankful, dear brothers and sisters in this room, how thankful should we be that Allah gave us Iman? How thankful should we be that Allah guided us to Islam? How thankful should we be that we're sitting here in our heart saying, I believe in Allah? This is the greatest gift. It's the greatest gift, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, Isa.
So spiritual death, like it means like the heart's like all dark.
All dark and dead, exactly.
Yeah, so it means like heart has no more light.
We're going to talk about this.
Okay.
On the one level, Allah equates life and death in the Quran with light and darkness, in particular with those who reject Allah. Allah talks about how they are dead. A hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, the likeness of the one who remembers Allah and the likeness of the one who doesn't remember Allah is like the likeness of the living and the dead. Living and the dead. So let's imagine this, because in order to understand this, I want you to really imagine the picture that I'm trying to set here. There is this heart. We put it on a special machine, and it has light, or it can go dark and die. So I want you to imagine your heart. Okay, we put it on this thing, has a light under it. It can glow, or it can just be dark. Imagine at one point it's just dark, it's black stone, has nothing on it, it's just dead. Okay? When you believe and acknowledge Allah and His religion that He sent on the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it gives it a life. It's alive. It has life. Obedience to Allah, knowledge, worship, all these other things, feed it and give it more life and expands it. So it goes from this little thing that it's on, and it gets expanded. More light, expanded. More light, and keep growing. I made a dua when I started my talk here tonight. I said, Rabbi shrah li sadri. Oh Allah, expand for me my chest, which doesn't mean a physical, but actually meaning my heart. Expand for me my heart. When the heart is constricted, it gets small. It doesn't like religious stuff. It doesn't want to hear about Allah. Doesn't want to pray. Doesn't want to worship. It's like, leave me alone. It's a sick heart. It just wants to enjoy the world. That's a sick heart. Prayer comes, they don't want to pray. Allah tells them to do stuff, they don't want to do it. That's a sick heart. The heart is sick. And there are sound hearts and sick hearts. Again, we're talking about purification of the heart. We first need to know when it's sick. What are the signs of it being sick? Believe it or not, this book covers everything. What are the signs if it's sick? What if it's healthy? How will you know? It does talk about everything in great detail. But before I go into the text, I want to give you the overall what we're looking at here. So the heart can grow. It can get more light. And if it has an immense amount of light and expansion, then what happens to you is you become very in touch with your Lord. You get very connected in your religion. And really, the only thing in your life becomes Allah. You just want to learn about Allah. You want to worship Allah. And your happiness is with Allah. Your sadness, when you're sad, you talk to Allah. When you're happy, you thank Allah. When you're sad, you ask Allah. It's constantly connected with Allah. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ never forgot Allah, not even for a zillionth of a second, ever in his entire life. He never forgot Allah. We could be at a level where we also never forget Allah for the most part of our life. I don't know about you, but most of my day, There's no way I can think of really any moment I'm not thinking about God. I don't know if you guys are the same. You always think about God, right? Yeah, you said.
So your heart can grow like spiritually.
Yes, absolutely. The heart can grow spiritually, it can expand, it can increase in light, it can become more and more pure, or it can detract and get dark. So, this is what we're covering. This is the topic. Any questions on the topic? So, we've learned the following, that a sound heart will make you survive on the day of judgment. A corrupt heart will not only corrupt you on the day of judgment and get you in trouble, but even in this life, it leads to you committing sin. When a person lies, it's on the tongue, but it emanated from the heart. When a person hurt someone, it came from the heart, but manifested on the limbs. On the limbs. Okay? So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We'll start now on the text after about a 20-minute introduction. And we're going to read just the first section. These are lines 1 through 8. He says, I begin. Bada'tu bi qalbil badi'i. I begin by starting with the heart of beginnings, for it is the highest and noblest of beginnings. So, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he's basically saying, he's playing on a word in Arabic, qalb. Qalb means to turn. The qalb in Arabic means qallaba yuqallibu, to flip something, to change it. So he's saying, Bada'tu bi qalbil bada'i. I begin with the heart of adab. Adab, when you take bada'a and you flip it like the heart, it becomes adab. So that's what he's doing here. He's saying, I begin by the heart of beginnings, by flipping beginning, and you get adab, with etiquette with Allah, proper behavior with Allah, as that is the best way to begin. So this is how he's starting, okay? I won't go too much into that, just that first line. I'll make the rest easier. Have courtesy or etiquette with Allah, high and majestic, by practicing modesty and humility. So in this first lines, we are taught to have adab with Allah. So I would, in your notes, write adab with Allah. Let's first define adab. Adab is A-D-A-B, adab. Adab means correct behavior of speech, action, and being, like how you should be. Okay, with your words, with yourself. Adab. Everyone has an adab. Adab with Allah is the most high and most important. Adab with Allah. How do you have adab? They teach you that in public school. They teach you adab. They say to have integrity, sincerity, honesty, trustworthiness. Those things are virtues, but that's also adab. That's the way you should be, right? They don't teach you in school to lie, to cheat. That's not adab. They also teach you in school not to yell at your teacher, not to hit your teacher, not to steal their stuff, not to yell at them when you disagree with them. Am I right? And they teach you basic respect. Like if your teacher said 2 plus 2 is 5, you don't say, teacher, you got it wrong. What's wrong with you? You don't do that. It's not adab. So why is it okay that we show adab with our teachers, but we don't show adab with Allah? Who's more worthy of being more adab with? Allah. Our adab with creation is because Allah's commandment to have adab with creation. It's because of Allah. So he's saying that you have to have adab with Allah by practicing modesty and humility. Modesty and humility. This is called haya in Arabic language. Haya. Haya is not translatable in English. Those of you who know some Arabic, haya, it has to do with modesty, with humility, with a type of shame that you embody a certain etiquette that is reflective of your state with Allah, with creation. So if you have haya, it means you have this shy, this restraint, has a lot of meanings. But the meaning that I'm going to give you at the least level is the following. That you are never missing. You are never missing from where Allah told you to be. Now you all understand my metaphor. When I say where you're supposed to be, meaning at the command of God. So you're never missing where He commanded you to be. Or you've never left out what He told you to do. That He does not find, so on the one hand, He doesn't find you missing where He told you to be. The second part of this line is that He never finds you where He prohibited you to be. So I want you all to metaphorically imagine fields. 2 fields. Okay? You go to Mackenzie Park, you'll find that there's like kind of 2 fields. A lot of schools have it, right? You can play kickball on one side, you can play another 2 fields. On the one field, it's a green field. So all the things Allah told you can do. That's the Amr side. Fard, Sunnah, Mandub, Mubah, all of that is in the green field. On this field is a red field. It's got a big X all over the field in white. It's a big red field. It's got an X in white and it's telling you not allowed to go on that field. You are not allowed on that field. So the least level of haya is that Allah doesn't find you missing on the green field and He doesn't see you messing around on the red field. Okay? In other words, we can say, again, I'm restating it, that He doesn't find you missing where He commanded you and doesn't find you present where He prohibited you. Okay? That's the least level of haya. Least level. Obviously difficult. And obviously we will do things in our life that is not appropriate. But this is why He also says that you have adab with Allah through modesty and humility. So you have modesty on the one hand, that's adab, haya, and you have humility because once you know that you cannot always be on that green field and sometimes you're on the red field, that'll lead you to be humble because you realize you've committed sins, you've committed wrong action, and you may be in trouble. Therefore, be humble with Allah. Don't think you're some great Muslim. Don't think you're so special. Be humble with Allah. Assume yourself to be a pretty big sinner. In fact, we will read in this text when it talks about arrogance that you should see yourself as the lowest of the people in terms of your behavior with Allah, in terms of what you're presenting to your Lord. Not to be arrogant, not to think you're better than another Muslim, but that you are humble before Allah. So that is how we have adab with Allah. So this is a beginning text. Don't be missing where God told you not to be. Don't be where He told you not to be. And be humble, because once you realize that, you realize you haven't always fulfilled the commands of Allah. Dejected out of shame and humility, humbled in awe, imploring Him. So once you do that, you'll be in a state of shame, humbleness, and humbled in haiba, in awe of Allah. You realize the presence of Allah. You realize the greatness of Allah. And then at that time, you'll implore Him, call upon Him, make dua to Him, ask istighfar from Him, and you'll change your way. So this is the state of a good believer. By giving up your plan for the plan of God, by your desires, you give those up, emptied of covetousness for what His servants have. Meaning, you also, this is all adab with Allah. This is what the beginning intro. The rest of the text is not like this. This first part's a little difficult. And he says that by giving up your plan and your desire, emptied of covetousness, which is a person, this person does not want what other people have. He's not hungry for other people's money. He doesn't want people's status. He doesn't want people's money. He doesn't want anything. He's with Allah. Okay? So when you have covetousness or tama, you want what others want. By hastening to fulfill the commands of Allah and being wary of the subtle encroachment of bad manners. So you rush to fulfill the commands of Allah. Meanwhile, being very careful how you do that. And to make sure that when you worship Allah and you do the things you're supposed to do, you do it with love, with obedience, and you don't find within yourself not liking to do that. One of the warnings given to Muslims is when you are told to do something by Allah, it should never be as burden. You should never pray because it's a burden. You should never give money in the path of Allah like it's a burden. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you do something, you don't like that you're doing that. You hate it. You're giving money, but you don't like it. You're praying, but you don't like praying. You're just doing it because you have to. It's not a good thing to do. That's bad adab. When you pray, it's because you love to pray. You give money, it's because you love to give money. All actions and obedience that you do to Allah should be out of love and not out of a hardship. You should write that down.
Can you repeat that?
All actions that you do, that Allah commands us we should do with happiness and joy and not out of like a hatred. Like you don't, a burden. And he says after that, if you realize your attributes of servitude, if you realize you are a servant and you're an abd, then at that point you will be assisted something of the attributes of the eternally besought, which means once we realize that you are a servant, you're an abd, you need Allah, you're not independent. You didn't create yourself. You can't do anything for yourself. Allah is the one helping you through everything. Once you realize that you are a servant, you do need God in everything in your life. At that point, Allah will give you qualities and blessings that will free you from the problems and the low qualities of this world. So once you realize you're a servant of God, Allah will make the world a servant to you, not you a servant to the world. Money will not ruin you. You won't live for money, but money will come to you on its own while you worship Allah. Now, by that I don't mean you don't work, or you don't go to school, or you don't do the things you're supposed to do. But that means that you take on, you realize your low quality, you realize that you need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then at that point Allah will raise you up, inshallah. And then he says, there's no salvation like the heart's salvation, given that all the limbs respond to its desires. So there's no salvation like the heart salvation, because we talked about that. If your heart is saved, you're saved. If your heart is not saved, you will not be saved. Okay? Everything goes back to the heart. So this is why it's the most important thing that you need to work on and have adab. And inshallah, Allah will help you with that. So this book again is available. You can inshallah order it, read with us if you like, write your questions down if you have any, and inshallah we will look to do that. We're going to take a break at this point. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad. This was lines 1 through 8 in the intro. Alhamdulillah.